Welcome to another episode of Healing Her Halo. I'm your host, Patience Murray, and I'm so happy to be joined with Christine Handy. She is an international print and runway model. Christine is the author of the book Walk Beside Me, a fictional depiction of Christine's life. Christine became a keynote speaker after her book was published in 2016. Christine is a mentor, a breast cancer advocate, a public figure, a social media influencer, a nationally recognized humanitarian, and a mother of two sons. Christine serves on the board of three nonprofit organizations: People of Purpose, the Break Free Foundation, and the Wonder Women Initiative. Christine's first novel was made into a film called Hello Beautiful and will be released fall of 2024. Christine, thank you so much for joining the show.
So excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Wow. What does it feel like to know that your story is going to be shared with the world, to the masses? Like, how does that feel knowing that you're going to have that moment coming up soon?
It feels it feels important, and it's not because it's my story, but when I was, and I tell this to people all the time, when I was going through breast cancer, and this is typical of people that go through an illness, you seek out other information other than the deluge of medical information that's constantly coming at you. You want to hear stories, you want to see stories, so you seek out media, you seek out TV shows, you seek out movies, right, about what you're going through. And when I did that, I was disappointed with what I found. It's not that there was a lack of those stories, but a lot of them ended in a very sad, tragic ending. And so I thought, if I could write the book, I was not trained to be a writer, and if I could get my book made into a film, then wouldn't that make a splash in the world? It was a cancer story, but it ends in thriving, it ends in survival, and it ends in hope. So I feel like it was my job, and it was something that I was so passionate about, and would never let it go, because I felt like the world needed something like that.
Wow. You
Yeah.
are absolutely right. And that the world needs to see those stories of triumph. And it's
Yes.
it's not always about, pinpointing or glorifying the adversity and the traumas and the unlikely experiences or unpleasant experiences, but how you make it through those things so people can see that it's possible.
Well, and I'll tell you about the film and about the book. It doesn't negate the negativity. It doesn't
Mhm.
negate the pain. It doesn't negate the trauma, but because I don't want people to see a highlight reel, right? We're
Mhm.
constantly seeing highlight reels on social media, and that's not healthy. And same in the movie. You're going to see a lot of trauma in the movie with the family dynamics, and which is typical, right? But in
Mhm.
the end, you're going to see again a hopeful story, and it's an accurate story, which I think is important in this day and age, to be accurate. So often we look around, and there's some discrepancies about what is accurate and what is not. And I think people, they don't want to feel alone in their journeys. And so they want to see an accurate description of maybe what they've gone through as well, and represents them as well.
So what is your journey?
Well, I mean, we only have an hour.
Yeah.
In I'll give you a brief description. I was raised in a very healthy environment with parents that were very supportive. I have three other sisters, and we didn't feel like we lacked anything. And I started modeling when I was very young. And so I kind of felt like I was immune to illness and trauma somehow. I don't know why I thought that. I lived kind of a sheltered life, although I was in the modeling industry at a very young age. That wasn't so sheltered, but that was kind of on me. It wasn't in the community that I lived in. It was my job. And so I also, in the modeling industry, because I started so young, I felt this like need to have this external perfection. I
Mm.
really wanted to focus on the external. I really cared about my weight. I really cared about what I looked like on the outside. And I wasn't focused on doing the introspective work that teenagers need to do, young
Mhm.
adults need to do. I skipped that whole process. Obviously, I can look back and see that. I didn't know it at the time. So when I was faced with illness many, many years later in my young 40s, and I lost my beauty, and I lost my hair, and I lost my eyebrows, and I lost my eye, all the things that we in society, I lost my breasts and the things in society that we hold to be true, to be beautiful. When that's all washed away, you have to go inside and realize and know the truth is your beauty comes from within. But I didn't know that. And so when we focus externally, whether on it's our job or somebody in our life or external beauty or materialism, those things can all be taken away. And so I had a really dark few months when I was diagnosed with cancer where I was like, oh my gosh, all this stuff is being taken away from me. Who am I? So I went through 15 months of chemotherapy and did the introspective work at that time of my life when I should have done it earlier and really realized I was a courageous person. I just had to find it. I was a tenacious person. Of course, when you're 11 years old and you want to get in the modeling industry, you see that grit and that grace and determination. But I had kind of pushed that down for so many years because I was focused on other things, and so that grit and grace came back to fight my journey. And so after my diagnosis, I knew that I had done it life so wrong for so long that I thought, wow, if I could share that story of vulnerability and then show how really life should work, how you really should live life, then maybe that could help other people. I had wished that I had something like that, to read or to look at when I was younger. And I just really felt like that was my responsibility.
Wow, I'm super proud of you.
Thank you.
And your vulnerability is truly making a difference. I'm sure in your everyday life, but particularly on this journey that you're on with this path of just being transparent about how you thought, how you felt, and what that evolution was like for you. And you're not alone in that. You're definitely not alone in that. So I know a lot of people are going to relate to that. So when you were in those beginning days of losing your hair,
Yeah.
what was going through your mind in those moments? Because sometimes healing is not, a journey where there's a finished destination or anything. So I know there's probably still things that you feel each day, but in that
True.
beginning, what was that like for you?
Well, I felt a lot of despair. And to be honest with you, I don't remember a lot from those few days because they're, at least for me, when I'm faced with trauma, and I've been faced with trauma multiple times, I kind of try to block it out. But what I do know for a fact, my first moments of that realization that I had a diagnosis and I asked the doctor whether I was going to live or die, and he didn't answer. So it was that impact. I first said to myself, God, please don't let my kids be raised by another woman. I really wanted to raise my own children. And that was all I could think about. Don't take me out of my kids' life. It was so, that pain was so frightening to me. And so, but then I went through a moment where I was like, okay, it was so much. There was so much to handle. And I had another illness at the same time. I had an arm issue, which was a arm infection called osteomyelitis, and they ultimately had to put bone grafts and rebuild my arm, and I don't have a wrist anymore. And my chemo was actually postponed for 30 days because the bone grafts that they had just put in my arm would have dissolved from the chemotherapy. And so now I'm diagnosed with breast cancer, and I'm trying to figure out, like, how am I going to live with a fused right arm, which is my dominant arm, for the rest of my life? How am I going to lift my kids' bags, those heavy travel bags because they're playing sports? How am I going to cook? How am I going to drive with this arm issue? And now I'm diagnosed with cancer. So I had all these things coming at me at the same time. And so I went, after that initial reaction, I went through a real state of depression. And I just thought, I'm not sure that I want to fight anymore. Like, it was so overwhelming. But then I had a lot of women show up for me. And I thought, wow, if they're showing up for me, why am I not showing up for me? And that was a pivotal moment in my journey where we often give people so much grace. I wasn't giving myself that grace. We often fight for other people, but why wasn't I fighting for myself? And so I had to become, which I thought was selfish. It's not. It's not selfish to care about yourself. It's not selfish to have self care. But all these things I was relearning really helped me show up in my own life for myself. And then what happened was, as I was showing new courage, that was inspiring other people. That was inspiring my own children. Okay, my mom showing up. My mom showing courage when her hair is falling out. My mom is showing courage when she was bald. And I think that helped the people around me because, often we can lose our courage, right? Which is what happened when I was first diagnosed. But then I was borrowing my friend's courage. Oftentimes we need to borrow that to step in until we can take it back. And then the little steps I was taking to show courage, other people were being inspired by that. So I kept going on that trait. I was just like, okay, I'm going to keep doing this. And then I'm also borrowing courage when I need it. So I really learned so much during my diagnosis. And I feel like I have a lot of post traumatic wisdom.
Wow. I love both things that you said about the borrowing courage and the post-traumatic wisdom. Two gems. I think if you ladies, if you caught it, catch it because that was riveting right there. But the borrowing courage, I finally understand what that means in my own life.
Yeah,
Because sometimes we don't have it. We just
absolutely.
don't have it. But that energy, and that's why it's so important to have community around you and people who have the best intentions for you and that can speak life into you and all of those things. I love that concept so much. Wow. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you. Wow.
Traumatic
So
wisdom.
yeah, that was so amazing. Oh my God. So what was that journey like? So on the uplift, right? Because I feel like in life it's kind of like a movie. Right? It is like our lives are movies. So when you're going through this depression, you're going through this moment, and you're going through now borrowing courage and you're getting your strength back. And what is that journey like now of transitioning from feeling like, victim, but now to victor? Now you're an inspiration. So what are the things that keep you stable and emotionally regulated and uplifted on that journey?
Well, I wake up every day and I get to give people hope. I feel like I'm a hope facilitator, and it's a privilege. It's one of the greatest privileges in life is to serve. There's a difference between happiness and joy. Joy comes from serving. Happiness comes from worldly things. And I want to feel joy. And so selfishly, right? We all want joy is a way better emotion. But that my stability, right? We get knocked around every single day. Especially the bigger the story, the bigger the platform, the more people are going to try to push you down. That's just society we live in. And I think I'll give you a short story. When I had breast implant illness 7 years after my mastectomies, I had breast implants and I really loved them, but they didn't love me. And so it was in an emergency situation, they were extracted. And that was a really dark moment for me because I thought I did the chemo, I did the breast cancer, I have a fused arm, I had a third of my colon removed when I was 35. I was like, gosh, I've had a lot of illness. Now, this on top of that was really stressful. And the pain, the physical duress of being like gutted like a pumpkin from those implants was really, I don't even know how to describe it. It was very painful. And so a few months after that, I decided to go back to modeling because I would get messages on social media from women who said, I can't leave my house with a concave chest. I'm afraid to show it to my husband. And to be honest with you, it broke my heart. And so I thought, well, here I have this voice on social media, but what if I go back into the modeling space? What if I walk in New York Fashion Week? What if I walk in Miami Swim Week? What if I partner with big brands to show that my identity is not dissected because I lost my breast? My identity is whole because I'm a child of God and nobody can shake that, right? So this is going back to faith, which is, I think, your question, how do you stay stable?
Yes.
And if I did not have the dependency on my faith in God, if I did not realize that my beauty was inside, then it would keep getting shaken, right? It would be this constant roller coaster. So months after this, now I have a concave chest and I'm on my social media and somebody says to me in a comment, were you born a man or a woman? Because I imagine, in this day and age of whatever you want to call what we're going through in
Yes.
society, this person saw that I have no chest and just made an assumption.
Right.
And to be honest with you, it kind of caught me off guard. And it took me a few days to respond to his comment. And I wanted to immediately respond out of anger. Like it was like I had a spirit of offense. And I took a few days to say to myself, no, 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 we don't have a spirit of offense. That's not my issue. That's that person's issue. And I'm going to go and respond out of grace and kindness. And it's going to disarm him most likely. So I responded out of grace and kindness. And I just said, why would you ask that? And he backed down completely. But it's not our job to take care of other people in that regard. My job is to regulate how I respond. My job to have a stable ground and to not be in this constant roller coaster is to focus on something. And what I'm going to focus on the something that I'm going to focus on is something that can't be stolen, cannot be taken away. And that's faith in God. Everything else, it can be taken away. Money, materialism, relationships. I went through a divorce after cancer. I know that loss. I know it very well. And so my chest, I mean, these things can be taken away. And none of us are immune to that. And so if I keep my focus on God, then nobody's going to rattle me. No comment, no if something is not successful in my life, that's also not going to rattle me because my focus is God.
I love that so much. I love that so much. And I love how you handled the response with care and grace. And it's no need for all of that. It's no need to even, interact with the energy or, kind of match the energy. That's the thing that people say sometimes. I'm matching energy. You don't have to do that. There's no need to do that. You can rise above and, respond how obviously, like if you believe in God or if that's your faith, respond how God would respond in the situation. Activate that inner love and inner faith inside of you to do that. And I think it takes a lot of strength to not say
Yeah.
your first initial reaction sometimes to things. So I think that you freed me from needing to respond to everything, especially immediately. Also, the timing, the pace. Wow, the masterful.
You don't owe anybody that. You really don't. You owe yourself peace. That's it.
Mm, you owe yourself peace.
Yeah.
That is so beautiful. Oh my God. I feel so grateful just to have this conversation with you right now, especially at this stage of my life. And I'm sure, the other listeners are going to feel the same way. And it's definitely divine timing for sure. So
Yeah.
I really want to get into this because as soon as you said that, you know what? There's people who feel, like they've lost their confidence due to their surgery of removing, their breasts.
Absolutely.
When you were walking down your first runway back, oh my gosh, when you were walking down that runway, what was going through your mind? What were you saying to yourself? Any affirmations or anything? Like, what was going through your mind when you were in this victorious moment of reclaiming your beauty, reclaiming your joy?
Thank you, God. Thank you for giving me this platform to help other people. Thank you for giving me this voice. Thank you for giving me the courage. Thank you for equipping me. Thank you for showing me what my value is. That's it. It's not about me. It's not the glory is not for me. The glory is for God. It's not I didn't just wake up one day and the Holy Spirit gave that to me. Like it comes from something that's bigger than me. And so I try to do my job every single day and be a beacon of hope and be a hope facilitator. But that's not the glory is not for me.
I truly feel that from you. I
It's
truly, and that word authenticity is so overly used, I feel like.
yeah.
But it's just the energy of your being, like who you are as a person. That's how you show up and it's how you live your life. That's the authenticity, you
You know,
know?
part of the journey of illness was really uh, clipping my wings, and I'm forever grateful for that because there was a time in my life where I was really insecure. But if you were to see me in society, you would have thought, "Man, is she arrogant?" And that was just a cover of insecurity. And so to strip all of that away and to take what I believed was my value away showed me my real value. And I would never have asked for breast cancer or breast implant illness and all of those things. But it refined me and I'm very grateful for that. My wings need to be clipped.
Wow. The wings needed to be clipped. And I'm sure you're flying and soaring higher than you ever have. right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah, and I have a peace inside of me. I don't want to be a victim, and I was for a long time, which is why I can talk about it. I've not always been a vine. Being a vine is such a gift, but also a privilege. And sometimes people look at serving as kind of a waste of time, or, oh, I have to serve because I'm in trouble, right? I have 20 hours of community service. Man, those 20 hours of service are like better, more of a blessing for you than the people you're serving, because
Absolutely.
you get to feel that joy. How lucky.
And that's what I've been adding into my prayers. It's like, how grateful am I that I get to create platforms for others to share their story? How grateful am I that I get to share
Yeah,
my story and have these experiences of overcoming, and all of these experiences made me who I am, not in spite of them, but because of them.
exactly.
That
You,
shift is everything.
yes.
Everything. So what keeps you joyful today? Like what's joyful for you today? I know service. Are you working on anything new? Are you excited about, anything that's upcoming?
Well, I am very excited for the movie to come out because I do
Yes.
know that the impact is going to be great. The process of making a film and funding a film and getting the film out there is not for the faint of heart. It is taxing, and it has taken 6 years so far. And we've had a lot of ups and downs and challenges, but it's truly by faith that somebody can go through this process without saying, okay, I've had enough, I quit, I'm done, it's so
Yeah, yeah.
stressful. But especially because it's not self-serving. I think if anything, if any of this was self-serving, it would be different. But to know the impact, to know that the place that I was in searching for something like this. Unfortunately, there's way more women being diagnosed with cancer now than there were 12 years ago when I was diagnosed. And so the audience is there, unfortunately, right? But I have a big audience to serve. And so the joy of getting that out over the complications is exciting, because I know the impact that we'll have. And just continuing to show up every day on interviews or on podcasts or just in the world, just in the mundane things of life, and with my children who are now adults, showing them what I'm doing is hopefully impacting their life, right? Because I showed them wrong for a long time. I showed them materialism. I showed them external dependency. I showed them being dependent on society. That was wrong. So I'm trying to correct that, for them as well. So showing up as me every day is again a privilege. I'm happy to be here, happy to be alive, and able to do this.
Wow, you're a warrior, and I am so extremely inspired by you.
Thank you.
I do want to take a step back because you did mention something that I did want to dig a little bit deeper into, because I can't imagine, experiencing a diagnosis, an illness, and then losing my partner in life.
Yeah.
What was that? What was that breakdown for you, and how did you manage that?
You know, I I don't know exactly how to answer that, because I try to have some sort of privacy in my personal life, which is challenging because I'm such an open book.
I understand.
But I wish my ex-husband, I pray for him. I wish him well. I hope he finds the love of his life. I That was a tough process for me because I am very religious, and I do believe in, that vow and commitment. Um, we definitely drifted, obviously, and especially in great illness. I was sick for a long time. And that must be hard as a spouse. In fact, it has to be. So, you know, life happens, and that happened to me. That was a very dark time of my life because you trust somebody explicitly. And, I want to be, uh, a light for so many people. And when that trust is severed, it's hard, right, to come back from that. But, again, the only thing that I can do, the only control I have is my reaction in any situation of my life. And so I try to react out of grace. I try to react out of forgiveness. I try to react out of love. And I'm telling you right now, if that man ever called me and said, I need you, I'd be on the first plane there.
That's so beautiful.
Yeah.
That
It
is
doesn't
so
negate the
beautiful.
pain that I went through, but I'd do anything, anything to help him.
You are a special person. I
Well,
don't know. I don't know how many women that would be able to say the same thing. And probably gone through, different experiences, and I'm sure not battling, a critical illness and having that level of reserve to say, I'm going to pray for you. I wish you well. If you need me, I'm there. You're just different. You're a different woman, girl.
but here's the thing, I remember the pain of unforgiveness because the doctor that hurt me with my arm, I thought I would never forgive him. And I had to really set myself free from that anger because all that anger does, all the unforgiveness, all it does is hurt me. I don't want to hurt me. That's self inflicted pain. I don't want to have any unforgiveness with my ex husband. I don't want that to hurt me. I want him to be free of any anger from me and any disappointment. We had everybody puts, right? It's 50-50, right? So if I'm sure I've caused him some tough days too, and I would hope that he would forgive me. So I don't want to have any feelings of unforgiveness in my life with anybody.
That's freeing. That's so
That
freeing.
that is the ultimate freedom.
I feel like I've learned so much just in these moments of speaking with you. Honestly, like I'm so honored, like, to
Thank
have this space with you right now to talk about just the ways that you've overcome so much, but the wisdom, like the post traumatic wisdom that you've gained from every single experience. And I'm sure there are, probably a lot of women who are going through very similar experiences or just dealing with the breakdown of relationships or experiencing illness or just experiencing, unwanted moments in life that they
Yeah.
can't control. If there's anything at all, like that you can say to any woman going through any one of those experiences, what would you say to them?
I would say, when you're going through breast cancer, although hopefully you have communities of people that show up for you, there are moments where you're by yourself, many moments where you're alone. I would do some inventory. Who is surrounding you, right? How do you talk to yourself? I mean, I'll never forget when I was doing that introspective work, when I was laying on the very cold marble floor of the bathroom throwing up from chemotherapy. Very dark moments. And I'm in my head going, "Okay, how can I be a light today? Okay, how can I forgive myself for doing it wrong? Okay, how can I if I survive this, how do I want to live my life moving forward?" And it's those times where it's really self fighting for yourself, and not just physically but emotionally, where I would take those moments. I would tell people, take those moments. Don't lay there and feel sorry for yourself. Lay there and go, okay, whatever the future holds, how can I make a difference in my own life and in the life of others? And really think about it. And also really think about what thoughts are coming to your head, because there were plenty of times where I was like, I don't really like you. And I would say that to myself, and I'm
Wow.
really angry at you. And that's not good self-talk. So I had to really change that self-talk and say, I love you. I'm proud of you, even when I wasn't really sure about it. And then oh my gosh, I don't know where this came from, but this is a great nugget. You'll love this. Once I was finished with my chemotherapy, I found some pictures of myself as a child. Maybe my mom gave it to me, I'm not sure. And so I put these little pictures all around my house, not tons, but like three or four. And anytime I walked by that picture, I would say to that little girl, I'm going to protect you.
Wow.
Think about that. Eventually, you're going to really protect yourself. Why? Because you're constantly looking a little bit a smaller version of you, going, how could I ever hurt that little girl? I'm never going to hurt her. And so my decisions were different. I cared for myself differently because I wanted to protect her.
I feel like I want to cry, you know? I think that's so important.
It's a
And
good exercise.
it's a great exercise. I love actionable advice.
Thank you.
I love things that people can use right now to start making steps towards a better experience in life, because this is our life.
Yeah.
This is our experience. And I also know what it's like to live in that pain. And that's your life. All that pain and suffering. But we can choose to make different decisions. We can choose to implement strategies. We can choose to get up. We can choose to fight for the light that we had or have, you know? And I'm just so proud of you, just on your own journey of all the things that you've overcome, all the things that you've been through.
Thank you.
It's masterful. It's absolutely masterful the way that you have gotten to this point in your life. And I'm so honored again. I'm so honored to share you with this audience. I'm so honored to share your story with people who I know, who I absolutely know, feel like it's no way.
Yeah.
It's no way that they're going to be able to make it through it.
Yeah.
Like they've tried things before, it didn't work. But maybe implementing something that they know from your testimony that it worked for you, just maybe, they might be willing to try again.
Hopefully.
Hopefully. Hopefully. Christine, is there anything left that you have for us? Because at this point, I feel like we've all just benefited from like this masterclass of healing and restoration, and I'm so thankful for you. But if there's anything left that you could give to put a spark back into somebody's halo, a few sentences at all, this you can share it with us right now if you'd like.
Hope is an action. So is fear. Choose wisely.
Boom.
Yeah.
Boom. How can we connect? How can we connect with you? Where can we find you? Where can we,
I got a book out. I got a movie out. Interviews out. I'm on socials. Trust me, you can find me.
Okay. Is everything at Christine Handy?
Except LinkedIn. I'm sorry, except Instagram, because there was already a Christine Handy. So it's Christine Handy 1.
Christine Handy 1. Okay.
Yeah. But on all, just Christine Handy, Google me. You know, it's so funny. If you Google Christine Handy, which I never do, typically it comes up Christine Handy husband, because people are always trying to find out if I'm married.
What?
I never talk about I never talk about it. And I won't, by the way, but I'm just saying,
Well, I guess you have to watch the movie to find out more.
Secret. It's a secret.
It's a secret. You got to watch the movie. You got to go see the movie. And where can we, when are we going to be able to know more about that? We just got to follow the journey.
Yeah, we don't have a release date yet, because
Okay.
movies take a very long time. Even
Mm-hmm,
post-production takes a long time. So I'm hoping at the end of 2024, early 25.
This
It's
is
coming.
exciting. It's exciting.
By the
It's
grace of
exciting.
God, it's coming.
Well, thank you, God, in advance for working it all out. And Christine, thank
Yeah.
you so much for your time today on the show. And this has been another episode of Healing Her Halo.